Hello, friends. My name is Coco, and you don't know me, and I don't know you, but I'm very happy you're alive today. You guys remember the episode of South Park where Gerald, which is Kyle's dad, I watch a lot of South Park, by the way. Gerald, which is Kyle's dad, is being a internet troll, and he's saying like really awful, horrible things, and he ends up trolling this Olympiad, who ends up, I think she played tennis or something, and she ends up killing herself because he was bullying her so much on social media. And then he goes in this panic mode, right? He's panicking and freaking out, and not because she killed herself and, that's a horrible thing and he was the catalyst of it, but more so like, oh shit, people are gonna find out that I, was being so awful to this girl that people are going to judge me now and that my wife's going to find out and she's going to yell at me. And, it wasn't really, he wasn't apologetic necessarily or feeling regret because of doing that to her, but because of what the repercussions could be on himself. And when I think about that, I think about Logan Paul. And everybody's talking about Logan Paul. I'm a little late on it for obvious reasons because I've been dealing with some stuff. But, um, you know, Logan Paul went to Japan and went to the suicide forest in Japan because he was claiming he was doing it for mental health and also suicide awareness. And he ended up finding a dead body there. A little sidebar notes here. Suicide awareness is in September, which, whatever, maybe he's just talking about it because, it's a hot button issue and we've had a lot of people committing suicide, celebrities, people that we know, a lot of people around us. So, okay, fine. Finding the person who committed suicide is a little bit trickier to try to acknowledge because inside the suicide forest, you are only supposed to stay on the path. You're not allowed to just kind of free wander everywhere. It's not like Yosemite where you can just kind of wander around. And even there, you're supposed to typically stay on the path. But they went off the path. They found this body of someone who committed suicide, and then they recorded it, talked about it, but they were laughing about it, him and his crew. And then he got in trouble, and he sent out this apology letter, which wasn't really an apology. And it just made me think of Gerald. He's not really sorry because, oh no, it was awful because this person killed themselves, and now their family's gonna find out, he's only sorry because now everyone thinks he's a shithead. And oh no, everyone's just attacking him. And it's kind of like this being a victim, even though you pretty much did something really horrible to another human being. You treated somebody else like they were less than human for the sake of likes. And I think about the poor family and how they discovered it, if they didn't already know. And it's pretty much just going on YouTube, and then there's your relative dead on YouTube, and people are commenting, or this kid's laughing, and it's awful. And I mean, recently, my uncle passed away, and the only reason we found out pretty quick about it, instead of a policeman telling us or whatever, was because someone messaged my aunt on Facebook. And that was already kind of devastating enough to find out that way. And then could you imagine possibly that I'm on YouTube and I'm just trying to check some BS stuff, and there's Logan Paul's page with my relative's body. And then thinking about the other aspects of it, being somebody who's attempted suicide, and being somebody who deals with depression, the last thing that I would think of is that people are going to be messing with my body after I go. Because I think at least at that point it's over, it's the end. It's not something I ever would have thought about, actually. And a little sidebar on why people kill themselves, it's, you feel like you're drowning. And especially when you have depression, it is a mental illness, and it's not something that you can control necessarily. And with environmental factors and social factors, depression can be a beast to battle every day. I read somewhere, and I've shared this a couple times, where I read that the psychologist said that basically suicide is, you're stuck between a burning building and jumping out the window. And either you can continue burning alive, or you can jump out the window. And jumping out the window would be committing suicide, but it's better than burning alive to some people. And being someone who's been in that building and has been burning alive, there are days where it's really hard and you're looking out that window like, maybe I can do this. And every day that you're here with depression, with suicidal thoughts, you're making it through another day. It is a battle, you know. It's just people don't consider it a battle because they don't see the struggles that you're going through, because you're trying to hide it, because not being okay is not okay in societal norms. And it's interesting because, you know, people battle cancer, they overcome it, people think, oh God, that's great. Or someone dies of cancer, oh my God, they lost the battle, it's horrible. But with depression, people don't feel that way necessarily because they don't see the physical ways that it affects. They don't see anything that's wrong with the person until they're already gone. When inside, they're rotting and festering from their depression, you know. And they do lose the battle. I almost lost the battle. But when you lose a battle, again, the last thing you think of is some punk kid coming with his punk friends and them all laughing and, you know, thinking it's funny. In the name of suicide awareness. In the name of talking about mental health. And some people say, well, if he had talked about it and just, you know, kind of mentioned something serious, but it's like, this isn't, you know, Steve Irwin's, you know, going across the Serengeti. It's not like he's going to be like, oh, look at right here what we have and let me talk about it. I don't think it's excusable either way. Like, maybe if he had recorded a video once they were done through the forest and he said, man, we really saw some stuff and it was awful, and talked about it then, maybe. But to flick on that camera, to point it at that body, you held no regard for that human being. You treated them like they were nothing just because you needed those likes. And let me tell you, likes aren't really anything. Like, people have this weird, like, I need to have the most likes, I need to have all the stuff so that way I can get endorsed and people can, you know, give me money and I can get advertisement revenue. And it's like, you don't want to sell your soul for stupid things like that, though. And I want to say that, you know, oh, Logan Paul learned a lesson and blah, blah, but at this point in his life, I don't feel like he did. Because now we're all saying his name. Now everybody knows who he is. And ultimately, that's kind of the point of what he wanted. And I hope later in life, he learns. I really do. But for now, what he did was inexcusable. And unfortunately, that poor family had to find out that way, and unfortunately that person who died, their body's now plastered on the internet forever. And it's a horrible thing. It's really horrible, especially when you're saying you're doing it for suicide awareness. Because let me tell you, when I was trying to commit suicide, in the many different ways, the last thing I wanted was someone to make fun of me at the end. The last thing I wanted was someone to laugh at me. And it's just a horrible thing to think that you're trying to kill yourself to get away from the shittiness of life, but even in death, the shittiness you can't escape it. Even in death, it's still there. And I think we just need to start reflecting on those things and deciding what's important. And what's important is treating people like they're human. What's important is treating people, you know, like they have value, because everybody has value, you know. And I think when people cry out, oh, the world's shit and the world's all these problems, you gotta take a look in the mirror sometimes, because sometimes if you're not doing good for your fellow men, you're just as guilty as the rest of them. And at this point, there's not a certain amount of good that Logan Paul can do to say, like, oh yeah, now I'm a good person. It's like, no. You're gonna have to work the rest of your life to take back what you did. But again, I think at this point he doesn't really care. That apology was such BS of an apology. Like, you know, I got caught. It's like, Gerald, you know, oh crap. It's the slap on the hand I'm going to receive from somebody that I care about, but not the fact that I'm doing something really cruel to another human being. And just have respect for the dead, man. Especially when they're trying to commit suicide or have it committed suicide. Just overall, it's really cruel. And I guess that's just what I want to say today. We gotta learn to respect each other. We gotta learn to love each other. Because the world's getting crazy. But if you're not trying to be part of the solution, then you are part of the problem. And if you are just sitting stagnant, being like, well, the world's gonna burn anyway, so I'm just gonna do me, you're still part of the problem. Because you can do something. Even the very minute things every day, you can do something. And what he could have done was turn off that camera. And what he could have done was report it. And what he could have done was talk about it after. Because, I mean, personally, if I saw a dead body, especially in that situation with me and my own depression and my own suicidal thoughts, there's no way in hell I would have laughed. Even just a dead body in general, I don't think there's any way in hell I would have laughed. So, either you're part of the solution or you're part of the problem. I just feel bad. And I hope that the family has the strength to get it through, and I hope that that person's soul can find peace. Because that was really horrible to do to somebody. And I hope later in life, people who are like Logan Paul can reflect. And I guess that's all I gotta say. So, I love you guys. I'm proud of you guys for the battle that you fight every day. And I'm sorry that there are people out there that think it's funny. I'm sorry that there are people out there that you might encounter that might tell you, I hope you kill yourself. And I really hope that you can have the strength to not listen to them. Because the battle that you face, you are a beast for fighting it every day. You are a superhero for the battles that you've been fighting. And I'm very sorry that people can't see it because they expect to see it right in front of them. But you don't have to prove anything to anybody. And I'm just really happy you're alive today. Do good, be good. And maybe, just maybe, we can make the world a little bit better. So, I really hope you guys have a good night. And I'll see you tomorrow.